I have really bad autobiographical memory. I just don't remember my own life very well. And so I compensate for this by keeping a very detailed daily journal. And this is great when I need to look something up and find out what happened on a particular day. It's not so good when you want to try and review and reflect. And so for this, I turned to AI, not to do the reflection, but to make the reflection possible. And what I learned over the last year is that I need a combination of both ChatGPT and NotebookLM to do what I need to do. Let me explain. This video is not about a year-end review. It's about an ongoing reflective practice on either a weekly or a quarterly or a year-to-date basis that I kept going all year long. And so the insights here come from the continuity of the practice rather than a one-off reflective exercise. This is something I do continuously and will continue to do going forward. I haven't found a productivity thinker yet that doesn't encourage you to do some kind of periodic review. Usually they're wanting you to figure out, are you on track with your goals? Are your goals still in alignment with your values? How is your energy fluctuating? Any of these things. And they're generally encouraged on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, quarterly basis, and then usually culminating in some kind of annual review at the end of the year. I decided to start with weekly reviews. I established a really great habit in 2025 of keeping daily journals. So you would think a weekly review would be a simple matter of bring up the 7 files for the 7 days in the week, read through them, and then answer the reflection questions that you've decided are appropriate for your weekly review. And I tried that. And what I found was when I did my weekly review, I was mostly copying and pasting what happened earlier in the week back into the week. And if I tried to actually reflect on it, I couldn't hold everything in my head at the same time. So really, not a lot of reflection actually happened. It just seemed to be a copy-paste activity, and it wasn't bringing me a lot of value. Even though I had these detailed journals, I was still reading them and processing them serially. And so I was having trouble seeing the patterns, seeing the trends. I still had the recency bias of the most recent file I'd looked at. I was not able to see the shape of the data. I could only see what was in front of me right at the moment. You might think, 7 files of daily journals, read through that. How hard can that be? But my daily journals are actually fairly detailed. I capture what happened during the day, all the activities that I worked on and the major points that I covered, how I felt during the day doing things, anything that popped into my mind that I want to look at later on. Every day I capture 1 win for the day, 1 point of tension for the day, and 1 point of gratitude for the day. I capture basic statistics like when did I wake up, when did I go to bed, how much did I weigh, did I take a shower or not. Yeah, it's weird, but this kind of stuff is helpful for me to remember. So it's really quite a bit of stuff. And so it's very easy to get lost as you read through these day after day after day. It really only took me a couple weeks of manual weekly reviews to realize I just was not getting the benefit out of this. I'd been using AI for more than a year at this point. I was very familiar with it, so I turned to AI to assist me with this. I captured my entire set of questions I tried to resolve during a weekly review and set that up as instructions in the AI and put the week's worth of journals in there and said, answer these questions. And it worked. It did a good job. It actually summarized and organized, and it found the patterns, and it seemed to generally be accurate with what I actually did that week. And I said, great, I've got my weekly review. All I have to do is throw my daily journals in here, run it through the AI, copy this out, paste it in, read through that. So I did this for a while, and I genuinely felt it was useful. And it provided me some value. And after a while, I realized that I wasn't capturing that value because the value wasn't the AI summary itself. It's what came up in my head when I read the AI summary. That was the actual insight, and that was the actual value. And I wasn't capturing that. I was only capturing the summary. So I shifted what I did again. And in my weekly journal log, I captured, here's what came out of the AI, and then here's what came up in my head when I read what came up in the AI. And I captured that as well. So there were some things that AI was really good at and some things it didn't do so great a job at, particularly as I started looking over longer time scales. So AI was good at frequency and metrics. If I wanted to say, how often did I do this stuff over the course of this quarter or something like that, it could look it up and find that. It was good at finding themes. It was pretty good at finding narrative arcs that had happened. But there were some limitations. If I didn't have a lot of data, then it would really focus on the couple of things I did have and sometimes overweight them. It would sometimes, in its zeal to tell an interesting story about my life, it might go and reorder a few things or stress certain things differently. So really judgment was needed. But even when it did things like this, it was still useful to me because it pointed out, oh, it didn't have enough detail to figure that out, or it kind of got that wrong, but I see what it was trying to do there. I had to evaluate, does this make sense? As the year went on and I started to accumulate more and more journals, several things started to become clear to me. Different time scales require different cognitive demands. Some repeated patterns need weeks or months before you can actually see them clearly. A weekly review just won't do it. Also, my growth over time needed the better part of the year to really see that happening. And the world itself was changing underneath as things went as well. So just the weekly scale was not enough. Looking at what was happening over the long time periods was very important. But the different tools worked differently for that. What I found was ChatGPT actually worked really well for my weekly reviews. When it was shorter time horizons and structured analytical questions, as I went to longer time scales, monthly, quarterly, year to date as the year progressed, I found that NotebookLM actually gave me better results for tracking patterns over time, themes that had developed, and kind of putting my life into a narrative arc. It did a better job of jogging my memory through storytelling. For me, AI-assisted personal reviews grounded in my daily journals on a periodic basis, weekly, quarterly, and year to date, are an essential practice, and I'm absolutely continuing that going forward. I honestly don't know how I functioned without it. I definitely did not function at this level without it. I skipped over a lot of the technical details. I didn't want this to be a how-to tutorial kind of thing, but if you're interested in some of the details of that, go ahead and reach out to me. If you've tried a similar thing and you just want to chat about it, I'd love to have a conversation like that in the comments. Now that I've got this channel going, I'm looking at bringing you content like this at least every couple of weeks going forward. If there's something in particular you're interested in me covering, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.